So this is the introduction to digital opportunities in insurance, a subject very close to my heart, Sam. When we got pitched to do this talk, there's a few things that I find absolutely fascinating in this space in the time I've been at Covéa. So first of all, some introductions. I'll let you go first if you want, Sam.
Yeah, I'm Sam Watson. I'm Technical Principal Chapter Lead. So I manage a team of full stack squad of principal engineers. But in previous life, I was head of mobile at 2 leading Yorkshire agencies. As a result of that work, I managed teams and also worked on the ambiguous world of emerging technology because of working in mobile, really. Worked with some massive enterprise companies like Procter & Gamble, Coty, GSK. We made some amazing products for them, and I focused on the technical side of it.
Nice one, Sam. I'm Mike Moran. I'm lead product owner for claims at Covéa. So I have the exciting job of looking at all of our kind of digital products, both internal facing and external facing in our claims space, and looking what we can do really to kind of disrupt the claims space and deliver amazing customer journeys, whilst also protecting our business. And we'll talk a bit about that next. Previous work history, I've worked for virtually every telco on the planet. Not on the planet, that's probably going a bit far, but yeah, I was a bit of a job junkie for a while, jumping around. But the one that gave me the most concern was working for Huawei. I like that quote that you had earlier, Sam. It's my way or the Huawei.
That's what I heard.
I'm also involved in a couple of startups that I like working in, doing interesting little things that aren't quite, so big and corporate. Cool. I'll let you lead with the introduction, Sam.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so just like the title says, I think what we wanted to do in this lightning talk today was do the introduction to digital opportunities insurance, and firstly kind of dispelling some of the myths about digital insurance, about what is and what isn't. Then we're going to quickly break out into exploring the opportunities for digital in the sector, and in that we're going to just highlight some of the startups, which I'm sure Tracy will have mentioned earlier today, because it's important for us to keep our eye on those businesses, because someday they might take over or inspire us to make our own solutions for that. But then we're going to finish off on detailing what we're doing at Covéa differently, and looking at the tech that's underpinning some of our future roadmap.
Brilliant. So let's dispel some of the myths of insurance and just insurance in general, really, because everything's digital now. Everything's digital seems to get stuck in front of everything. But I don't know many businesses that don't have any form of digital technology, if any. So one of the things that I often heard a lot or thought a lot before I started working in insurance is that insurance is just there to make money and avoid paying out claims. In my time working for Covéa, I've been absolutely amazed at how that's definitely not the case. And that sounds like something I would just say because I work here, right? No, I think I'd be completely honest with people that, I spent time because I look after claims with a lot of our claims handlers. And honestly, the company couldn't go more on and above to try and pay claims. And there is plenty of times that we find issues in people's policies where they forgot to inform us that they've moved address or, some other little problems in the policy they've taken out. And we still work with them to pay out claims. We don't just give a flat no, that's it. There's a dot in the wrong place. Therefore, we don't have to pay this claim. It's not about that. And Covéa's got this great mission statement, which is, putting things right when the worst happens. And I can honestly say from spending time with our operations people that we definitely do that, and they definitely go on and above to try and put that in place. And it's really restored my faith in insurance, and it's made me look a little bit closer when purchasing insurance to some of the fine print, as also picking out the right companies. Picking out companies that have got great customer experience scores is not just a price-driven market. Actually that level of service that I would get if I was in a sticky situation is going to mean the world to me. So one of the big things that been one of the big problems in insurance is obviously fraud, right? Insurance is a marketplace that is absolutely right. And I thought this was an interesting stat that I found online. 107,000 fraudulent insurance claims worth 1.2 billion uncovered by insurers in 2019. So they're the ones that they've uncovered, which means it's probably loads more than that go uncovered. And this means there's a new scam uncovered every 5 minutes, around 300 a day. That's a lot of fraud in the marketplace. And the problem with fraud is fraud that costs the customer ultimately in the end. So every pound of fraud that, Covéa takes on, we've got to balance the books, right? So insurance policies creep up in price for people every year because it becomes more and more expensive to run an insurance business. So these people who are fraudsters, they actually, up the cost of people's insurance in general. So anything we can do with technology to reduce fraud, reduce the cost for customers, and allows us to make sure we just deliver great journeys to our legitimate customers making claims. What opportunities have we got in traditional insurance? So when I talk about traditional insurance is kind of your bog standard policy. It lasts 12 months. It sits in the drawer, and then I renew it at the end, or I make a claim halfway through because something's happened. So in your traditional insurance sectors, there's all sorts of insurance policies, all sorts of technology that could really help us now. So there's lots of solutions out there for complex business process management because, I made the mistake when I started at Covéa of saying that claims was really simple. It just sounds like you just get some information and make a decision. It's actually massively complex, especially in the motor space, right? When you insure a vehicle, you've got the ability with that vehicle to not only damage the vehicle, damage the people inside the vehicle, damage other people, damage road infrastructure, damage, all sorts of stuff, right? So they can be really, really complex claims. And to do that, obviously, we've got lots of different departments within Covéa that pick up specialist pieces of the pie. And that actually leads to really complex business processes. And if we're going to use technology to automate and really kind of reduce the effort it takes to go through these complex business processes, we need some tools that give us really complex business process management. Cloud computing, this is a technological advance that's helped virtually every sector because obviously it reduces the investment to be able to get good computing power. So things like AWS means that, companies can quickly deploy infrastructure in the cloud and use it to drive business value that previously they would have had to find data centers, buy servers, plug them in, pay for people to do that thing. Now, now you can get engineering teams at the click of a button can deploy infrastructure. Big data. Big data is absolutely massive. When I worked at O2, I saw loads of amazing stuff we did with big data and AI, especially around smart cities and how we could make cities smarter and more efficient. If there's one place that's got huge amounts of data, it's insurance companies. So our entire business is really, predicated on data. And what we've got is by having lots of legacy systems, like a lot of insurers have, the ability to get that data out and get it in a usable format, and also have platforms that when you get an insight into our business, how you can then make a change to really impact them numbers and really drive a better customer experience and drive benefits for the business. The other one is InsurTech partners. In some of the earlier talks that you heard, there's tons of InsurTechs start all the time. And one of my frustrations when you spend time with InsurTechs is they've got a really good piece of technology. So I met one at an insurance conference that they claimed that within 2 hours notice, up down to a meter by meter square, they could predict flooding. And give an alert to a customer. So 2 hours before your house floods, we can let you know your house is going to flood. Fantastic, right? But what you need is you need a technology stack that allows you to be able to use these InsurTech partners in complex business process management and actually utilize the benefits. One of the problems you've got with legacy technology stacks is that we can't take the InsurTech partners and use the power of their technology to really influence ours. Because if everything's in external portals and you've got claims handlers and operations teams with 50 tabs open to do things, then you start to lose the power and the value of our InsurTech partners. If you can get these pieces of technology right and get them embedded into your business, we can deliver great digital customer experiences. If I look at other companies that aren't insurance companies, if take O2, for example, they've got about 80% of customer communication is done via digital channels, whether that be chatbots or self-service through applications. A very small percentage of it is actually done on the phone now. In the insurance place, it's a very different market. It's very emotive, but it's about allowing customers to self-serve when they need to self-serve and making sure that they get the right level of kind of human interaction where it's required. Fair pricing, the amount of data that comes in to impact our prices is vast, and get using the technologies, mentioned above, the ability to rapidly change pricing based on changing market conditions in areas would be massively powerful to insurance companies. An example I always think about is if there was a crime ring in Halifax that only sold VW cars because they had a special way of getting into them, and they were shipping the cars off and never to be seen again. By the time we fully understood that was happening and then changed our prices to make it more expensive for us to cover a vehicle of a VW type in a certain area, the crime ring may have already disappeared or moved on to another city. It's far too reactive sometimes. So one of the things we definitely want to do is fair pricing. We want to make pricing, the best it can be for our customers. And to do that, we need lots and lots of data. So the big data and cloud computing with flexible platforms allows us to really rapidly change that pricing. So people are getting a fair price for the risk that they've got. Fraud reduction. We got tons of fraud. Well, I say tons of fraud. There is tons of fraud in the insurance market. And what we need is big data and lots of stuff to try and help us combat that. Apologies, I'm getting like a horrible echo in my headphones.
It's not on our side. You're in good flow.
Yeah, Sam. Did anyone ever see that thing that Chris Moores used to do where you make people sound drunk by giving them a slight delay in their headphones? That's exactly what I'm getting. So I'm going to move. Also, cost reduction. So to reduce our costs and through our processes, we need to be able to, accurately model business processes, see where our risks are, and adapt to any insights that we get from any of the data we get. So one of the things that me and Sam have talked about is what does an insurance claim of the future look like? What is a great customer experience where we can bring all these technologies together, especially in a traditional insurance space, but also, make sure we deliver that A-class customer experience that lots of customers are getting through other industries. So things like Uber-fying the experience. People talk about the Uber-fied experience because, Uber took taxis and made it a far better experience than it had ever been before. So we've got this video. It's completely low budget. As you can see,
it's scrappy. I like the term. The message that you've created in it, Mike, is absolutely on point though. So I think the audience would really like it.
Yeah, Sam, we'll get it on. Right. So these are the kind of things and the kind of moments that I think customers should be having with insurance. So, when we talk about a moment, if you take out a policy and you only make one claim in 8 years, when you make that one claim, you want it to be a great experience. And we want to make sure that experience is great. And this is the kind of experience that I think we should be looking for in the future. John's moment with car insurance. One day, John was driving to work when he had an unfortunate accident. Like a lot of car insurance customers, John has never had a crash before or made a claim. Confused about who's at fault and what to do next, he needs to contact his insurance company. In the past, John would have had to call his insurance company. He would have had to remember who he was insured by, find their number, call them, and make sure he can answer his security questions. Luckily for John, that was in the past. John now has his car insurance companion. This is an app on his phone that helps him when he's in his moment of most need. The car insurance companion app has detected that John's potentially been in an accident. If John doesn't respond to the companion app, it gets ready to contact the emergency services or John's emergency contacts. The app has informed John that recovery is on its way and he has 30 minutes to wait to be recovered. But in the meantime, the app starts to guide John through the claims process and informs him to take photos and gather evidence at the side of the road. So John gets straight to it. He starts taking pictures of the accident and getting selfie statements from witnesses. Before John knows it, Covéa have got their trusty recovery service, picking up John's damaged vehicle and taking it to one of our repair centres. Still shaken from the accident, we organise a taxi to ensure that John gets home safe. Once John gets home, he starts to relax and unwind from the stressful day he's had. Oh, what's this? A call. It's Covéa. This is a courtesy call from Covéa just to check that John is okay. We informed John that his vehicle is with one of our approved repairers and it'll be ready to collect in a couple of days. But don't worry, John, we're sending a courtesy car tomorrow so all your family can get around safely whilst your vehicle is being repaired. Also, we've reviewed what you submitted at the side of the road and are progressing your claim. Our approved repairers worked through the night to repair John's beloved car and return it safely to his family. When John gets his car back, he's overjoyed. He can't believe the excellent service that he's had through this horrible time. And they all live happily ever after.
I love that, Mike.
Thanks, Sam. I'd like to point out that our marketing team had absolutely nothing to do with that. You can tell from the
one-man machine.
That's it, Sam. That's it. But yeah, I hope the sentiments there of what we'd like to do in the future, the kind of experiences customers should be having when making a claim, and these things are across all different product lines of insurance. And we're going to talk about lots of startup companies that are looking at these kind of experiences.
Yeah. Thank you,
John. There you go, Sam.
Yeah, no worries. It's just I'm getting a bit of feedback there. I can hear myself. So one of the things that we want to do in the engineering function is look at a portfolio of startups. Why are they important to us as an insurer? It's really important to monitor what the marketplace is doing in terms of development, because startups don't have any legacy. They don't have anything like we've got in terms of old systems that they have to integrate with. They've also focused their attention on one key area of their business. What that allows them to do is focus on their product specifically, which helps them build a very good profile. That profile drives audiences, and then that audience drives more need for that sort of service. It's really important. Sorry, Mike, are you clicking through? I just can't see it build. Yeah, thank you. They focus on one small thing. Through that, they grow and inspire others to take it. The key thing from this is a single bee is not going to take over your business, but a swarm of startups have got the potential to take all of your customers away. So it's really important for us to monitor them all the time from a product perspective, which Mike's going to talk about very briefly, and I'll talk from a technology perspective, so that we can marry up our solutions in the future to make sure that the services we create meet the needs that are being created by these startups. So the first example I think Mike's going to talk about is Lemonade, which I'm sure everybody has heard of. Mike, I'll just let you just quickly briefly talk about them from a product perspective, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so Lemonade in the marketplace doing something very different from an insurance perspective. They like to keep a flat fee of the customer's premium while setting aside the rest of the money to pay claims and purchase reinsurance, which covers them from big claims. One of the things that they like to do as well is they like to pay unclaimed premiums into non-profit of the user's choosing. But as you can see from the video showing here, it makes it's a far more digital experience, and you kind of layer up different pieces of insurance that you'd like on top with very clear costs and very clear lines of coverage.
And from a technical perspective, it's important from us as an entire engineering function is to watch and monitor and look at their open source information to see if the languages and the environments and the software that they use could either inspire us to create proof of concepts in this area or take learnings from them, because it seems that a lot of startups are quite open about their technology now. They're open for everybody to experiment and explore with it because they want to create a culture of sort of like diversity in terms of technology. So it's important for us to kind of monitor how that product is delivered to customers, but see how they've done it under the hood as well, just so that we can see that. I think the next one is By Miles, which is the car insurance, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Sam, right? So By Miles is real-time car insurance. This really kind of plumbs into that gig economy piece. Some of the work that I've done previously when I worked at O2 was looking at the shareable economy people are less likely to want to own things now. There's a lot more emphasis on sharing things, such as kind of Boris bikes in London, using services such as Zipcar. So people don't want the burden of owning and maintaining a product. They prefer the kind of usage where you can just use it as and when you need. So Buy Miles is kind of aiming at that marketplace, that kind of shared marketplace, and you can pay for your insurance per mile that you do. So you haven't got the constant burden of paying out for a yearly policy. You pay probably a higher cost, but you pay per mile that you use it.
And then in terms of the way in which which delivered that, looking at React and React Native, and again using sort of like serverless environments, are things that we should be thinking about as an engineering function within our insurance industry. But also looking at if this company can create such a tidal wave that could take over some of our customers, do our customers then begin to expect those experiences of us? So that means that we get to then explore these technologies to see how they might interact with some of the infrastructure that we've got in case we might want to deploy on it later. I think the final one is Covéa, which is that Berlin.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting one, Sam. This is a company based out of Berlin, which is a bit of a tech hub these days.
Yeah.
This is kind of aimed at that market of generation rent. So there's a lot of people who rent homes. A lot of the younger generation can't afford to buy homes anymore. And, this is something I've done before when we've done research, that actually a large proportion of people who rent don't even have contents insurance. They don't see the value in contents insurance. They look at home insurance as the sort of thing that you would have if you owned a home, because you don't want your home being destroyed and not having any cover. But actually, having home contents insurance cover is super important. It's something you should have even if you're renting. So what they've aimed to do is make the experience a lot more digital and make it a lot more clear. If there's very specific parts of cover that you'd like, you can have a look, learn more, and then take them out and just take on the incremental cost of each of them pieces of cover.
And again, from a tech stack perspective, if anybody who's watching this isn't technical, you might be seeing the same words that are getting presented. But actually, what we're finding from an engineering function, again, is all of these companies that are building momentum are using new things, new ways in which you can transfer information, new ways that you can use business process management, just like what Mike said right at the very start. So it's almost taking some of the visionary things that we've already identified, looking at how it's been implemented, and then working out how that information and technology could be used in our area. Or equally, we could potentially tie up and marry up some of their services with ours, so long as the infrastructure is still connected. And I think it's really important to kind of continually monitor the startup, or beekeeping as we've kind of called it, to make sure that your product function are continually looking at the opportunities and spikes in which these companies are taking advantage of, but from an engineering capacity, make sure that what they are going to create connects with your infrastructure. And I think the next few slides are for me to take on to talk about how we at Covéa are exploring different technology and exploring doing things differently and looking at the technology that's underpinning it. So what we're doing fundamentally is we're disrupting our technical landscape. So as a chapter, we want to create pillars that support this by looking at different areas that cover some of the moments that Mike had talked about earlier. So we look at things like CMOR, computer vision, optical character recognition. We look at proof of concepts within this area, help more. So we look at technology that might be able to assist a customer, or might be able to expedite an assistance by being proactive or predictive. I think the next one is connect more, which is connecting to third-party services. So we will look at what services are available to us, which would reduce or eliminate the user input. So for example, if I can take a picture of a car that uses computer vision that connects to the DVLA, that means I'm reducing the number of clicks or input, because my picture has already sent my DVLA back check to see if the car's got an MOT or something like that. And then trust more. I think trust more works in a number of ways. Trusting automation services, trusting the customer to manage their processes themselves. So what this does is actually allows us to create 4 key areas of technology underpinned by kind of like emerging consumer behaviors, so that then we can look at technology to deliver that. I think the next slide shows some of the technology areas that we're really interested in. But first, it's kind of looking at the customer of today. So Mike mentioned that the subscription models, generation rent, ride sharing, all require new products, but ultimately all require technology to underpin them. And I think that a key thing that we're seeing at the moment as a result of COVID-19 is the accelerated adoption of digital. So this is a public piece of document from Think with Google, which I think is really important from kind of a business perspective, but also from a technology perspective as well. Whether it's transactional, educational, or personal, it's clear that people have turned to digital channels for many aspects of their lives. That means for us, we need to adapt and change our services because it's becoming more common for people to use technical and digital solutions. Asking your grandma to do a Skype call a year ago was unheard of. Doing it today is the norm. What does that mean for people's expectations of technology when it comes to other services like insurance? So what we do is we look at the different types of technology that might help solve some of those problems. And it's really ambiguous. It's really difficult to kind of manage and wrangle, because we'll ask questions like, can image recognition expedite the process of adding an item? Does the location of an image reduce the potential fraud of where it's been captured? Can biometric authentication create peace of mind for the user whilst connecting items to a customer? Can we technically and securely connect online and offline worlds? So they're these big statements that we as a disruptive chapter sort of like question all the time, and then look at technologies that might be able to deliver on top of them. So the first one would be optical character recognition to validate proof of no claims, biometric authentication to securely connect those customers, computer vision and item databases, so we could build up with our data science team you know, a database of items that we might use in the future. And something that I'm really interested in, which I know some of the senior leaders have already seen me talk about this, is SLAM, which is spatial location area mapping, and LiDAR, which is the light interference distance. We want to be able to look at these technologies and see if they're going to deliver any value to the customer of the future. So there is a short video, if you don't mind me playing it. It won't take too much long. I'm going to have to take a screen now. So this is a quick example of how a very new technology has, oh, sorry, apologies, one sec. A very new technology that one of our engineers had taken hold of, which uses spatial and location area mapping on a mobile device to scan a room. Now, a lot of you who might be watching this now might say, well, this is invaluable. No customer's ever going to do this. The rendering is really low. This technology is probably 5 years away before it becomes adopted. I think it's really interesting for a business to look at something like this. Now, this is my living room scanned with a mobile phone that's quite low in terms of its technical capabilities, and I can manipulate that. What does that mean for an insurer if we could start asking customers to scan their living rooms? Could we use computer vision to look up the items in that room and say they have a PlayStation, they have a Samsung television? Could we use the location of that image to then tell us whether they're in a floodplain? Could we use that type of technology to record post a fire, if it's safe to do so, to look at the potential damage of a room? That's this ambiguous new technology area. So I just thought it'd be really interesting for our audience to see that, to see how our thinking takes this sort of technology on to use in our products as well. Mike, if you don't mind taking back control.
Yeah. Can you hear me still, Sam?
Yeah, I can do, mate. Thank you.
Oh, right. I've just removed the horrible echo I was getting in my ears. Anyone who's ever spoke with a delay, it's so weird.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Let me just share my screen. I can actually talk now. Here we go. Can you see it still?
Yeah, I can see that. Thank you. So that was another area of technology that we was looking at, and I think myself and Mike are quite interested in this one in particular. Is what is the synthetic voice of our brand? How can we use the vision of using voice as a solution of the future? But what does that mean from a technical capability? So we look at speech synthetics, we look at IBM Virtual Voice Creator, we look at words that sound like, because they're the things that will actually make the experience for the customer better in the future. And I appreciate this has been a whirlwind of how the claim might happen in the future, what our startup landscape looks like, how we at Covéa are trying to monitor and create proof of concepts within different technological areas that will benefit our customers of the future. I hope you've all enjoyed it. There's just a quick takeout that we want you all to have, and if you've got any questions, we'd be up for that. Mike, I think you had some business takeouts you wanted people to have.
Yeah. So one of the key things for us as an insurance company is it's a very challenging landscape. There is lots of startups out there that have got have got the ability to give us technology powers that could really drive huge value in our business. So one of the key things is delivering great customer experiences that safely protects our business. And one of the things there is earlier on, we talked about how much fraud and how much activity you've got going on in the insurance space that can really impact us. And what we don't want to do is be in a position where we treat every customer like a fraudster. So using technology, we can definitely get better at delivering much better customer experiences without opening the doors to fraud for us. We like to monitor InsurTech's product offerings, but also we need a technology stack that allows us to be able to use that technology. Because at the minute, if you take on lots of different technology suppliers, you can't embed into your business processes and into your tech stack. You just end up with lots and lots of windows open by agents. You get inconsistent use of the tools and therefore get inconsistent customer experiences. You also need to look at the customer of the future and identify their needs and opportunities in the market. So yes, I talked about traditional insurance and the way that technology can really impact that huge amount of business that we already do. But we need to not be short-sighted. That product line might be the product line of today, but is it the product line of tomorrow? Things such as driverless cars. No one knows yet how do you insure a driverless car? Does me, as the person who owns a driverless car, do I insure it, or is it insured with the manufacturer? Because if the car has a crash due to poor software, for example, is that my fault as the car owner? Or is that the supplier who has supplied the car? So yeah, lots of changes to come in the future, and it's just making sure we're poised and ready to monopolize on these new markets as they arrive.
Yeah, and then from a technical perspective, I think I'm just trying to echo what Mike said, but looking at it in a different way. So we need to look at the InsurTech's technical offering. We as a business need to create prototypes to explore the art of the possible, to see if it works with our customers and our tech stack, and then continually expand the exploration of emerging technology to meet those needs that Mike had identified as the opportunities of the customer of the future.